showing the tremor map and that they weren't earthquakes. So I said, well, a microquake, what? Again, I get trolled hard by the professionals, guys. But I'd like to take you over and actually take a look at the real-time tremor map, see what it shows for today. Now, here's 24 hours worth of earthquakes. Now, what you're going to look at is there's two things that are happening. Yesterday, there was a spreading out across Washington state. See Washington and Oregon with all these, onesie, twosie, small little red dot earthquakes? Okay, each one of these yesterday. Now look today. The swarm up to the north has taken part up in northern Vancouver Island. Northern Vancouver Island. Now the slow slip has returned back to the north, but at the same time, it's picked back up in frequency. The number of tremors have picked up down back in California, right back at Etna, which is west of Wairika and north of Redding. So Etna, ironically named Etna, that is the spot where the slow slip is now carrying on. So it's carrying on. It has not stopped in California, and it's now picked back up to the north. And these are the perimeter edges, both edges of the slow slip area. Exactly, both edges. Now I'm going to prove that to you. We're going to back this out and look on Google Earth. Let me turn off my place mark. Now these are all Smithsonian marked volcanoes, but let me just turn off all the place marks so you can just see the fracture zone. So if we go up to the north part of the Juan de Fuca, which is right here, okay, going up in the Cascadia range, and then we get right to where the earthquake swarm is, right here. So if you follow this line diagonally down to the southwest, you meet up with the fracture zone. Right? Okay, so then you come into the south, and you go down to the south, and you come into Northern California. Northern California, Wairika, Fort Jones, right here. So in this location here is the southern tip, I guess, the southern tip of the fracture zone, and then all the way at the northern tip. Both are being struck right now by swarms of tremors associated with the slow slip event. This whole region is a section of plate that moves side by side one another. And that's what's caused this fracture to begin with. They've been pressed up against one another, and they're moving side by side. And when they get pressed too hard, they cause, again, a slipping to occur, and things start to move along the fracture zone. North, south, even a little bit up and down. And these ridges, see all these north and south facing ridges, or northeast to southwest facing ridges, just let you know how long this has been happening in the past. These are like buckles in the plate. As the pressure gets too great, it buckles, it causes a deformation in the plate, even sometimes causes tsunamis and large megaquakes. So, both sides are moving. Both sides have moved for the last 8 weeks. Now, the side to the north, up in Vancouver Island, moved by hundreds, if not a few thousand earthquakes, going from the Olympic Peninsula here up to the north to central Vancouver, and then stopped. Then it transferred to the south. And we've seen hundreds of earthquakes down here from Redding up to the north at this new location at Etna. And moving further to the north into Oregon. So what does it mean? It means that both sides keep slipping. And what happens in the middle? Well, what happened yesterday? What happened directly in between both sets of earthquakes yesterday, guys, off the west coast? If you didn't tune in yesterday, let me just go ahead and show you. Let's get it back on the map here. There it is. A 4.2, right in the middle. Right in the middle between Northern California and Vancouver Island. So it's the fulcrum point has already been hit by a 4, and I told you last night it's more like an upper 4 to 5.0. That was after the movement up in Alaska. So that precipitated this 4 off the coast, but we're looking at something potentially much larger. At least 3 magnitudes larger, which is a 1,000-fold increase in power from this 4 that you see here. But if I were to lean to an area that was going to move, it would be the area in between where both sets of earthquakes are right now. And that's off the coast of Oregon. You have a large cluster to the south, a new cluster beginning to the north. The slow slip event is carrying on, guys. It is now going on. I think it's probably one of the longer ones that we've seen. Now, I'm not a slow slip expert, and I don't normally forecast based upon slow slips. All I can do is show you day by day what's happening and make my determinations based upon that. So when I look at this now, I see both tips of the slow slip moving, and then I wonder, okay, the middle point, the central point, the fulcrum point between both sets of movement is the spot that's currently under stress. No duh, because take a look at it, there's a 4.2 right there. And that's from yesterday. But today, let's get the 4.2 off there. Today, you don't see the USGS reporting those clusters of tremors because they don't call them earthquakes. But they are earthquakes. They're small microquakes in the 0 and 1.0 range. They just choose not to report them to you. So if you could see them on here, it would make more sense that the middle point off the coast of Oregon is the spot where we are now going to want to watch for any potential large earthquake to strike. I'm nailing it down. It's taken a while. First we were looking up here, then it stopped up here and immediately transferred down to California. Then we're looking in California, looking around the Northern California, Oregon spot, and now the Northern California, Oregon spot has been hit by a 4. So it means that the area in the middle is the vulnerable spot. It means that they are reporting earthquakes that do strike out there, but it's been quiet. And 1-4 is not all you're going to see off a 6 point whatever up to the north. And I haven't even talked about the volcanic eruptions or the other locations, which we probably should talk about. But first, let's talk about the other spots on. I'll tell you in a few minutes after we talk.